Why did the woman on the sidewalk refuse to look up, even when the puppy whimpered? Most people walked past her without slowing. Shoes scraped concrete. A bus exhaled at the corner. Somewhere a phone rang too loudly. The city kept moving, indifferent, efficient, practiced at not seeing. She sat against the brick wall like she had become part of it, wrapped in a threadbare coat that smelled faintly of rain and old detergent. One arm curved protectively around the small dog tucked into her chest. The puppy's ribs moved too fast, nervous, hungry, alive. Across the street, a woman stopped walking. She wasn't in uniform, no rank, no patches, just jeans, a dark jacket, and hair pulled back tight enough to hurt, but she stood differently, still, balanced, like the ground had already told her where to place her feet. Lieutenant Maya Cross had learned, long ago, how to disappear in plain sight. She hadn't planned on stopping. She was 2 days into leave, still waking up before dawn, still hearing rotors that weren't there. The city felt wrong after months of dust and radio static. Too loud, too close, no perimeter. She told herself to keep walking. Then she saw the man. He moved fast, too fast for someone just passing by. His shadow fell over the woman and the puppy first. He said something sharp, clipped, the kind of voice that expected compliance. Maya felt it before she understood it, that tightening behind the ribs, the same sensation she got when something went wrong on a mission before anyone said the word. The man crouched, his hands shot out. The puppy yelped. "Hey," Maya said, already crossing the street. Her voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. The man turned, annoyed more than startled. Mid-30s, clean jacket, eyes that flicked once to Maya's hands, then back to her face, assessing. "Mind your business," he said. His hand closed around the woman's small paper cup. A few coins rattled, not much, but it was everything she had. The homeless woman didn't fight him. She just pulled the puppy closer, shoulders curling inward, as if making herself smaller might make the moment pass faster. That did something to Maya, something old. She stepped closer, close enough that the man could smell the city on her jacket, close enough that he had to look up at her. "Put it back," Maya said. The man scoffed, "Or what?" Maya didn't answer right away. In another life she might have, with force, with speed, with a precision that left no room for debate, but this wasn't a compound in Helmand. This was a sidewalk, cameras, civilians, a woman already used to losing. So Maya breathed once. "You don't need it," she said. "She does." The man's jaw tightened. For a moment Maya saw the calculation, the risk, the reward. Then he snorted, dropped the coins back into the cup harder than necessary, and stood. "Crazy people everywhere," he muttered, brushing past her. Maya didn't watch him leave. Her attention was already on the woman. The homeless woman finally looked up. Her eyes were gray, tired, but sharp, like they'd learned to survive disappointment by staying alert. "Thank you," she said quietly. The puppy licked Maya's knuckle before she realized her hand had reached out. Maya pulled it back, startled by the contact. "You okay?" she asked. The woman nodded, a reflex too quick. Maya recognized that too. She crouched anyway, lowering herself to eye level. The city noise faded around the edges, like it always did when Maya focused on one thing. "What's his name?" Maya asked, nodding at the dog. "Echo," the woman said, her mouth curved just a little. "He listens better than most people." Maya huffed a breath. "That makes two of us." For a moment they just sat there, two women from different worlds, sharing the same cold concrete. Maya reached into her pocket, pulled out a folded bill, hesitated. She hated the way money felt like a shortcut, like absolution. Still, she placed it gently in the cup. The woman didn't look at the amount, just nodded once, dignified, as if accepting help was its own kind of strength. Maya stood. She should have walked away then. Instead, she asked, "Where are you staying tonight?" The woman's fingers tightened in Echo's fur. Wherever they don't chase us off. That answer followed Maya all the way back to her car. That night, sleep didn't come easily. Maya lay on her back, staring at a ceiling she didn't remember choosing. The apartment was too quiet. No radio chatter, no distant gunfire, just the hum of a refrigerator and the echo of a puppy's yelp replaying in her mind. She told herself it was nothing, just a moment, a street-level injustice in a city full of them. But then she remembered the way the woman hadn't fought back. The way she had already decided resistance wasn't worth the cost. Maya rolled onto her side. There were things she hadn't told her team before she took leave, things she never said out loud, about the mission that ended early, about the call she hesitated on, about the girl in a village who looked at her with the same gray eyes. By morning, Maya was already dressed when her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She stared at it for a long second before answering. "Cross," she said. "We need you," a familiar voice replied. Calm, controlled, naval intelligence. Unofficially. Maya closed her eyes. Of course they did. "There's been chatter," the voice continued. "Domestic, not overseas. We think it's small until it is." Maya thought of the man on the sidewalk, the way he'd checked her hands first. "I'm on leave," she said. A pause, respectful, strategic. "We know," the voice said, "but you're already in the area." Maya exhaled slowly. "Send it," she said. When the line went dead, she sat on the edge of the bed for a long time, the weight of choice settling in her chest. Outside, the city woke up again. And somewhere downtown, a woman with a puppy would curl up against the cold, not knowing that the stranger who had stepped in yesterday was about to step into something much bigger, something that would pull them both into a story neither of them could walk away from. Not yet. Because sometimes, the smallest intervention is just the beginning. Why did the address on the screen make her slow down instead of speeding up? Maya stood at the curb with her phone still glowing in her hand, the morning air cool enough to bite through her jacket. The building in front of her was ordinary in the way dangerous places often are: 4 stories of stained concrete, mismatched curtains, a flickering security light that buzzed even though the sun was already up. No guards, no cameras she could see from the street, no obvious reason for naval intelligence to care. That was what bothered her. She crossed anyway, footsteps measured, senses widening the way they always did when something didn't sit right. The smell hit first: old cooking oil, damp trash, metal. Somewhere above her, a radio played softly. A woman laughed. Life, stacked thinly on top of life. Inside, the stairwell echoed. Maya took it instead of the elevator. Habit. Control. By the 3rd floor, her breathing was steady, quiet. She knocked once on the door marked 3C. It opened almost immediately. The man who answered was younger than she expected. Early 20s, hoodie, tired eyes, the kind of face that still believed it could choose a different future if it just had time. "Maya Cross?" he asked. She nodded. He stepped aside. "They said you might come." The apartment was small but clean. Too clean. No clutter, no personal photos. A laptop sat open on the table, its screen frozen on a scrolling feed of text and numbers. 2 phones lay beside it, burners, recently used. "Start talking," Maya said, not unkindly. The man swallowed. "My name's Eli. I fix things, networks, cameras. Sometimes I break them." "For who?" He hesitated. "Whoever pays." Maya leaned against the counter, arms crossed loosely. Not threatening, not friendly, just present. "And now you're scared," she said. Eli nodded. "Because someone stopped paying and started taking." He tapped a key. The screen shifted to a grainy video feed, a street Maya recognized immediately. The brick wall, the alley, the corner where the bus hissed to a stop. Her stomach tightened. The homeless woman sat in frame, Echo curled against her. The timestamp was from last night. Why are you watching her? Maya asked quietly. Eli shook his head fast. Not her, the people around her. That area's a blind spot. No one looks twice. That's why they use it. Use it for what? Eli's voice dropped. Handoffs, cache, data, sometimes people. The word hung there. Maya felt that familiar internal shift. The one where emotion threatened to rise, and training stepped in to hold the line. Who's they? She asked. Eli looked at her like he wanted to believe she could do something about it. I don't know names, just patterns. Men who don't look homeless but spend time down there. Vans that idle too long. Phones that light up all at once. Maya thought of the man who had grabbed the cup, the way he'd checked her hands, the way he'd left without pushing back. Why call intelligence? She asked. Because last night, Eli said, voice cracking just slightly, one of the cameras went dark, just for a minute. When it came back, she was gone. Silence filled the room. Maya stared at the frozen image on the screen. The woman's hunched shoulders, the puppy's small body pressed against her chest. Gone how? Maya asked. Eli swallowed. No struggle, no running, just not there. Maya straightened. Echo? She asked suddenly. Eli blinked. What? The dog, Maya said. Is he gone too? Eli tapped keys. Another angle, the alley behind the wall. The woman was there standing this time. A van pulled up slowly, side door open. Someone spoke to her calmly, too calmly. She hesitated, looked down. The puppy wriggled in her arms. Then the feed glitched. When it returned, the alley was empty, but a small shape sat by the wall, whining, alone. Maya closed her eyes. Something inside her cracked, not loudly, not all at once, but enough to let the cold air in. Where the van now? She asked. Eli shook his head. That's the thing. No plates, signal masked. It disappeared into regular traffic like it belonged there. Maya exhaled slowly through her nose. This wasn't a hostage rescue. Not officially. No jurisdiction. No clear enemy. Just a woman who had learned not to resist and people who knew exactly how to take advantage of that. Why tell me? Maya asked. Eli met her eyes. Because when that guy grabbed her cup yesterday, you didn't hesitate, and because you looked at her like she mattered. Maya looked away. She thought of her last mission, the one that ended with a choice she replayed every night, the one where command said she'd done everything right and her conscience stayed silent. Send me everything, she said. Eli hesitated. They told me not to. Maya's gaze snapped back, focused, calm, dangerous in its restraint. They don't get to tell you anymore, she said. I do. He sent the files. An hour later, Maya stood back on the same street. Daylight made it look harmless. A few people passed. A couple argued softly. Someone handed Echo a piece of bread. The puppy wagged his tail weakly, confused but trusting. Maya crouched and held out her hand. Echo sniffed, then leaned into her palm. Hey, buddy, she murmured. The puppy whined, pressing closer as if she were something familiar, something safe. Maya felt the weight of that trust settle on her shoulders. She scanned the street again. Timings, sightlines, who lingered, who watched without seeming to. There, across the street, a woman pretended to scroll on her phone. Too still, too aware. Her reflection in the shop window showed eyes flicking up every few seconds. Maya straightened and walked past Echo, not looking back. She crossed the street, matching pace with the woman as if by accident. Cold night, Maya said casually. The woman flinched before she could stop herself. Yeah. Lose something? Maya asked. The woman's jaw tightened. No. Maya stopped walking. So why are you here? She asked. The woman looked around, calculating. You shouldn't be asking questions. Funny, Maya said softly. That's what they told me once too. The woman's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, pale. Maya saw it then, the fear, not of Maya, but of whoever was on the other end. Tell them, Maya said gently, that she's not invisible anymore. The woman backed away, fast gone. Maya stood alone on the sidewalk, heart steady, mind racing. This wasn't a sanctioned op. No team, no backup, just threads and instincts and a choice she was already making. She walked back to Echo and lifted him carefully into her arms. He was lighter than he should have been. I'm going to find her, Maya whispered. Echo licked her chin. As Maya turned toward her car, she felt it clearly now, the pull between who she was trained to be and who she needed to be next. Sometimes the mission doesn't come from command. Sometimes it starts with a woman no one sees. And a promise made in silence. Why had it taken her so long to admit it to herself? Maya sat in her car, engine idling, the city moving around her like she wasn't there. The hum of traffic was almost comforting, almost like being back in a base somewhere familiar, except it was. She could hear the faint rattle of a bus engine and the clack of shoes on pavement outside. Nothing in this city moved with purpose except her own thoughts, and they were circling too fast to catch. She replayed the alley, the van, the woman and her puppy, the way the man had reached out for that cup as if it belonged to him. That moment, so small, so meaningless to anyone else, had lodged itself inside her like a shard of glass. The phone buzzed again. Eli. They moved, he said immediately. No greetings, no small talk, just the words clipped like a drill sergeant snapping her attention. Maya's chest tightened. Where? Warehouse near the river, south side. Grid sketchy, no cameras but motion sensors. Whoever's running this knows the patterns. They're organized. She inhaled, let the information sink in, then exhaled slowly. How many? 4 men at least, 1 woman. Maya's stomach dropped. A woman? Could she be another hostage? Or worse, someone working for them? The uncertainty sparked the same edge of anxiety she felt before every high-stakes operation. Not fear of getting hurt, she'd survived worse, but fear of failing someone who depended entirely on her. She pulled her jacket tighter. The morning wind clawed at her skin, cutting straight through. Stay on comms, she said. I'm going in. Eli hesitated. Cross, this isn't a sanctioned op. I know. Silence, then the faint click of the phone hanging up. Maya parked a block away from the warehouse. No lights yet, no movement in the alley behind it. Just the sound of a river running low and steady nearby, industrial smells mixing with the faint stink of decay and rust. She stepped out of the car, feet crunching over gravel, jacket brushing against her sidearm. Everything felt sharp, crisp, her senses tuned. Years of training had ingrained patterns of movement and observation into her muscles. She crouched, scanned the building. The windows were grimy but clear enough to show shadows moving inside. 2 men packing near the entrance, one glancing toward the river intermittently. She marked their positions, memorized the angles, the timing of their steps. And then she saw her. The homeless woman, huddled against a wall inside, Echo pressed to her chest, trembling. Maya's chest ached at the sight. The woman hadn't made a sound. She hadn't even lifted her eyes. She had learned painfully that staying small could be survival. Maya crouched lower, eyes narrowing. A side door unlocked, perfect, but she knew better than to rush in. She breathed slowly, let her heartbeat fall into a rhythm she could control, thought about every mission she'd led, every time hesitation had been punished, and every time rushing headlong had been punished worse. Her mind flashed briefly to that girl in the village, gray eyes, quiet, too much fear for one child, and Maya swallowed the lump of memory, pushing it down where it could fuel focus instead of paralyzing her. The lock clicked under her fingertips, soft, patient. The door opened just enough for her to slip inside. Darkness, cold, silence except for the faint whimpering of Echo. She moved, step by step, shadow by shadow. The warehouse smelled of wet wood, oil, and metal. Piles of crates blocked line of sight, giving her cover, and she used it. Her eyes caught movement, a figure at the far end of the room packing in front of the woman. The unknown woman controlling the situation. Calm, confident, dangerous. Maya's mind calculated angles, exits, timing. There was no heroics in her approach, just precision, patience, and the promise she had made to herself. No one else would get hurt if she could stop it. She stepped closer. The floorboards creaked ever so slightly under her weight. The figure stopped packing, turned slowly. Maya froze, eyes locked on hers through the dim light. "You shouldn't be here," the figure said, voice soft, almost conversational. "I could not be," Maya replied. The woman tilted her head. "You have no idea what you're walking into." Maya did, more than the woman could imagine. She'd seen human greed. She'd seen human cruelty. She survived chaos that would have broken most people. But what she hadn't seen, until now, was how courage could exist in silence, in a trembling woman and her small dog. The unknown woman smirked. "Do you really think you can just take her back?" Maya's jaw tightened. "I don't think I do." In that instant, something shifted. The packing stopped. The men became aware. The tension tightened like a rope ready to snap. And Maya realized the moral of the moment. Courage wasn't about being unafraid. It was about choosing to act even when the fear was sharp, bright, and unrelenting. A sound, a crate falling in the corner, broke the silence. Maya used it, moved, step by careful step, drawing closer to the woman and the puppy, every muscle ready, every nerve alert. And then the tiniest sound, a whimper, a shift, a heartbeat, told her she wasn't too late. Sometimes rescue doesn't announce itself with guns or explosions. Sometimes it comes quietly, carried in shadow and choice. And sometimes dignity doesn't speak, it simply acts. Why did she hesitate just a second too long? Maya froze behind a stack of crates, chest tight, senses stretched. The warehouse smelled of oil and damp wood, every surface a shadow. Echo whimpered in the distance, tiny and vulnerable. That sound tugged at something raw inside her, a reminder that this wasn't just about protocol or a mission anymore. It was about protecting someone who hadn't asked for it but deserved it anyway. The woman across the room, tall, poised, unnervingly calm, stood with hands folded in front of her. Her eyes didn't flicker. Not once. Men behind her shifted nervously, sensing tension, but unsure of the invisible line they were crossing. Maya's mind raced. Every training exercise, every failed mission, every moment of hesitation played across her memory like a reel. The decision wasn't tactical now. It was moral. Could she act cleanly and quickly without letting fear or doubt paralyze her? She moved, silent, deliberate, each step measured. Floorboards groaned under her boots. A faint click someone had noticed. Heads turned. The men squared themselves, hands twitching toward weapons hidden under jackets. Maya inhaled, slow and steady. She had learned to channel fear into precision. It was the same skill that had saved her in firefights overseas, but this was different. This wasn't a uniformed threat with rules and expectations. This was personal. Someone's life, small, fragile, yet fiercely alive, hung in the balance. The first man lunged. Maya sidestepped, grabbing his wrist mid-motion, twisting and forcing him to the ground without a sound. Echo whimpered again. Maya focused on the second man, a taller figure trying to block her path. Her training took over, a swift pivot, low center of gravity, leverage against momentum. He fell against the crates with a dull thud, cursing under his breath. Maya's eyes never left the woman in the center, the calm one. She moved toward her, deliberate, measured. The woman's lips curved slightly, not fear, not amusement, but curiosity. "You shouldn't have come," she said, calm, even, threat woven into her tone. "I couldn't let it happen," Maya replied, voice steady. Hands open, not threatening, not surrendering, just resolute. The woman laughed softly. It was almost musical, but it carried ice beneath the melody. "And what makes you think you can stop it?" Maya felt the weight of that question, not just the practical, tactical weight, but the moral one. How do you measure power against desperation? courage against cruelty, experience against someone who had nothing to lose. Before the woman could respond, a sudden movement, the door at the far end banged open. A new figure stepped inside. Male, broad-shouldered, eyes sharp. Recognition passed between him and the woman like a current. They didn't speak, but Maya knew they weren't expecting resistance. Her heart pounded, not with fear, but with resolve. Every training drill, every careful observation, every mission she had ever flown or led prepared her for moments like this. But nothing prepared her for the emotional stakes, for the humanity she felt tethered to her decision right now. The puppy's whine grew louder. Maya's pulse tightened. She focused, calculated. Step by silent step, she closed the distance, keeping the men between her and the hostage in the center. The woman's eyes flickered briefly toward the puppy, just a fraction of distraction, but enough. Maya took it. In one fluid motion, she lunged, using leverage, weight, and precision to push the nearest man aside. He stumbled. The other men scrambled, confusion breaking their rhythm. The center figure, the woman holding the other hostage, backed away slightly, alarmed now. Maya stepped forward, eyes fixed, hands open, ready to subdue without unnecessary harm. "You don't have to do this," Maya said. Her voice softened, carrying empathy, authority, and the moral weight of her choice. "None of you have to." The tallest man froze. For a moment the air itself seemed to hold its breath. Echo whimpered once more. The sound was a tether, connecting Maya to the woman she'd come to save. Then the center woman made her choice. A subtle, imperceptible movement, hand lowering, eyes flicking away from the men she had controlled moments before. A small, almost imperceptible signal of surrender. Maya advanced, careful, deliberate, step by silent step, until she was close enough to grab the woman and puppy together, lifting them away from danger. The other men realized too late. They lunged, but Maya had already created distance, momentum, and leverage. Training and instinct combined, and one by one, they were neutralized without lethal force. She backed toward the exit, hostage and puppy secure. The warehouse smelled of smoke and oil, tense with adrenaline and uncertainty. Outside, sunlight hit her face, harsh and sudden. The city was loud again, but now it felt safe. Fragile, but safe. Maya looked down at the woman, gray eyes wide, trembling, clutching the puppy. Maya knelt slightly. "You're safe now," she said. The woman's shoulders sagged, relief spilling over like a tide that had been held back for too long. "Thank you," she whispered. Maya's heart ached, not from exertion, but from recognition. Recognition of courage in someone who had survived too long by making herself invisible. Recognition of responsibility she couldn't shed, no matter how far she went. As they walked away from the warehouse, Maya glanced over her shoulder once. The doors stood closed, silent witnesses to what had just happened inside. She felt the gravity of her choices settle in her chest. Sometimes courage isn't about what you show to the world. Sometimes it's about acting when no one else will. And sometimes the smallest gestures, a hand extended, a whisper of reassurance, a promise kept in silence, carry more weight than all the firepower in the world. Maya tightened her grip on Echo, feeling the little heartbeat against her chest. The city carried on around them. Life moved forward, and for once, someone who had been invisible had been seen. Why did every shadow feel like it was watching her? Maya crouched behind the wall of an abandoned loading dock, heart hammering, Echo nestled safely in her arms. The woman she had rescued stayed close behind, trembling but steady. The city around them pulsed with life, cars, voices, footsteps, but none of it felt real. All that mattered was the narrow path ahead, the one that led them somewhere safe, somewhere temporary. The kidnappers wouldn't let this go. Maya knew that. Their precision, their calm, none of it was random. Someone had trained them. Someone had planned this. And now she was part of their puzzle. She glanced at the woman. Her eyes, gray and wary, darted from shadow to shadow. Fear was etched into every line of her face, but so was resilience. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but Maya recognized it immediately. She had seen that look in villagers, soldiers, civilians, people who had survived by noticing small details, by being cautious, by never assuming they were safe. "You okay?" Maya whispered, stepping lightly over debris. The woman swallowed hard. I think so." Her voice was small, fragile, yet there was a spark. "You're strong. I don't know how to be strong." Maya's chest tightened. That admission, the unspoken truth that the world had forced her to survive alone, resonated in a way that reminded Maya of herself. She remembered nights overseas, lying awake while villages slept, thinking about the lives she could not save, thinking about the people she had to leave behind. The memory brought a pang of guilt she couldn't silence. "We all learn," Maya said softly, "sometimes the hard way." They moved slowly, sticking to the shadows. The streets here were narrow, littered with abandoned carts and broken signs. Occasionally, a passerby glanced at them but kept walking. The world had grown indifferent, and yet every indifferent glance was a shield, a blind spot they could exploit. Maya's mind raced through options. Safe houses were limited. She couldn't call her team, not yet. Too many eyes, too many unknown variables. She needed a plan, a route that kept them covered but allowed mobility. Somewhere they could regroup, analyze the intelligence Eli had sent, and figure out what they were truly up against. And then the memory of the van flashed in her mind, the one that had taken the woman's safety, the one that had vanished without a trace. It had been precise, calculated, untraceable. Whoever orchestrated this had resources, patience, and reach. Maya's pulse quickened. This was bigger than she initially thought. The alley turned sharply. She signaled the woman to crouch. Two figures emerged ahead, talking quietly. Men. Their jackets too clean for this part of the city, their gait deliberate, calculated. They weren't looking for her specifically yet, but they were scanning, always scanning. Maya ducked into a shadowed doorway, heart hammering, pulse steady. She counted their movements, memorized their steps. A plan formed. Timing was everything. One wrong move could expose them, undo all she had done. She whispered, "When I say go, run to the corner. Don't look back." The woman nodded, gripping Echo tightly. The puppy whimpered softly, sensing the tension. Maya felt a swell of protectiveness. She couldn't allow anything to happen to either of them, not after all that had led them here. The first man stepped forward. Maya inhaled, silent as the wind. Step, 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 then. "Now," she hissed. They sprinted, pressed against walls, turning corners sharply, every sense tuned to movement, to sound. Behind them, a shout, a door banging, footsteps. Maya led them through a series of alleys she had memorized from prior surveillance. Each corner, each shadow, a calculated risk. They ducked into a doorway just as a second group of men appeared, scanning the street, guns barely visible under jackets. Maya pressed herself against the wall, muscles coiled, waiting for the right moment to move. The woman behind her was panting, Echo whining softly. Maya whispered, "Almost there, keep moving." A block later, they slipped into a small park. Trees and benches created natural cover. Maya crouched behind a tree, listening. Silence, broken only by distant traffic. The woman exhaled, trembling. I can't believe you saved me, and him." She nodded toward Echo. Maya shook her head. "You're not done yet, they'll be back, and we need answers." The woman hesitated. "Answers about what?" Maya's jaw tightened. "Why they took you, why the van, why those men knew exactly where to find you." The woman's eyes darkened. She looked down, gripping Echo's fur. I think I know something I shouldn't, something they don't want anyone else to know." Maya's pulse quickened. This was why the operation had escalated from a street-level mugging to a high-stakes extraction. This was bigger than she realized. "What is it?" Maya asked. The woman swallowed hard. "I overheard names, numbers, things about people they call themselves, about who they really answer to." Maya's mind raced. Organized crime, human trafficking, intelligence targets, Whatever it was, it had reached into this city, into the lives of people invisible to the rest of the world. "Then we need to get you somewhere safe," Maya said, her voice firm but calm. "Somewhere we can figure out our next move." The woman nodded, wrapping her arms around Echo. "I trust you," she whispered. Maya felt a rare pang of emotion, pride, fear, and responsibility all wrapped together. Protecting someone was more than following protocol. It was moral, personal, imperative. They moved through the park, the city a blurred backdrop of indifferent faces and distant traffic. Each step forward felt like a small victory, a reclaiming of agency against forces that sought to strip it away. By the time they reached the safe house, Maya knew one thing with certainty. This was far from over. The threads she had begun to untangle would lead deeper, darker, and more dangerous than she had imagined. And she couldn't turn back, not now. Because sometimes, the world only notices courage when it acts. And sometimes it acts quietly, like a woman, a puppy, and a Navy SEAL moving through shadows toward hope. Why did the walls feel like they were closing in? The safe house was nothing like the field compounds Maya was used to. No reinforced doors, no radio chatter, no backup squads within reach. Just a small, dim apartment on the top floor of a nondescript building. The kind of place you overlooked until it mattered most. Maya set Echo down gently. The puppy hesitated, sniffed the floor, then settled against the woman who held him protectively. The woman's gray eyes darted around the room, alert. Fear hadn't left her. It had simply become sharper, more focused, like a blade. Maya ran a hand through her hair and let out a slow breath. This was where the operational side collided with the personal side, the side she rarely allowed anyone to see. In the field, orders, objectives, and precision masked emotion. Here, there was no mask. Every choice she made had a direct human cost. "Sit," Maya said softly, nodding at the woman. She complied, trembling but obedient. Maya crouched beside her. "I need to know everything you overheard. Every detail counts." The woman swallowed hard. They're not just local, they have connections overseas, people who watch, who report. They knew about the alley, they planned the van. Her voice wavered. "I don't know why, but I think it's important." Maya listened, absorbing every word. Every hesitation, every inflection told a story. She noted patterns, inconsistencies, and gaps. It was a puzzle she had to solve quickly. The moment they stepped outside again, the world would become dangerous. The streets were no longer neutral ground. They were enemy territory. She paced. The room smelled faintly of old carpet, coffee, and fear. Not unpleasant, not unbearable, just real. The kind of smell that reminded you people lived here, survived here, and sometimes disappeared here without notice. "You're safe," Maya said finally, crouching beside the woman again. "For now, but we need to plan our next step. They won't stop. Not until they know you're not just a target. They'll want the intelligence you have." The woman looked down, clutching Echo. "I didn't mean I didn't choose to know." "I know," Maya said quietly. "Sometimes knowing isn't a choice, it's a consequence." Maya thought back to missions overseas, to villages where civilians bore witness to atrocities they could neither prevent nor speak about. She had learned that knowledge could be a weapon, a liability, and a responsibility all at once. A sound outside the window made her flinch. Footsteps, too casual, too deliberate. Someone was watching. She crouched lower, scanning the street below. Shadows moved in patterns that didn't belong. Observers, scouts, or worse. She felt the familiar tightening in her chest, not fear of confrontation, but the awareness of how close danger had come. "You need to stay low," Maya whispered. "Do exactly as I say. Do you understand?" The woman nodded, eyes wide, understanding fully that any misstep could undo everything. Maya moved to the window, her body coiled, ears straining. Every slight sound, a car door, a shout, a distant siren, was assessed, categorized, and filed. She was already planning an exit, an escape route, contingencies for contingencies. Her phone buzzed. Eli. "Cross," he said, voice urgent. "I got more. Surveillance you didn't see before. They're bigger than you think. They have people inside systems. Cameras, communications, they've been tracking her for weeks." Maya pressed a finger to her temple, absorbing the news. Weeks. The woman hadn't been safe in the city at all. Every move, every step, every encounter had been monitored. The van, the warehouse, it wasn't random. It was choreographed. "Send it," Maya said. "All of it, every file, every frame." "I already did," Eli replied. "But Cross, this isn't just about the woman. They have resources, money, reach. They can disappear people. They've done it before." Maya's jaw tightened. She had seen that kind of calculated ruthlessness before. It didn't matter if it was overseas or here. It was the same pattern, the same principle. Control, fear, compliance. "Then we adapt," she said firmly. "We're going to use their predictability against them, and I'll make sure she stays safe." She glanced at the woman whose eyes reflected a mixture of fear and trust. Maya's chest tightened. This wasn't just a mission. Not anymore. It was a promise. Hours passed. They planned. Checked every route, every angle, every shadow. Maya had the tactical mind of a seasoned operator, but tonight, every calculation was colored by human stakes. The stakes weren't abstract anymore. They were real, tangible, and intimately tied to someone's life. By the time night fell, Maya had mapped every exit, every backup plan, every potential confrontation. The woman clutched Echo, whispering quietly to calm the puppy. Maya allowed herself one small moment of reflection, silent pride that they had survived the extraction, temporary relief that no one had been hurt. But she knew better than to celebrate. The game had only just begun. Because sometimes survival isn't about fighting. Sometimes it's about thinking, predicting, and carrying others with you, even when you have no backup, no authority, and no guarantees. Outside, the city pulsed with life. Neon lights flickered, cars rushed past, people talked loudly, oblivious. Maya knew they were being watched. She could feel it. She always could. And still she held to a single truth. Courage isn't just about action. It's about endurance, resilience, protecting someone when the world doesn't care. She closed her eyes briefly, resting her hands on Echo, feeling his small heartbeat. The woman's fingers brushed hers in gratitude. Sometimes, Maya thought, the quietest missions carry the heaviest weight. And sometimes the right choice is simply to move forward, step by step, shadow by shadow toward hope.